Hello and welcome to the video that I've been holding myself back from. Shadow of the Erdtree is our upcoming DLC for Elden Ring. We've had the 3-minute gameplay presentation and we've had our initial reactions. We've looked at every detail shown for the gameplay, looked at outside stuff like Miyazaki's different interviews. With that, it is now time for me to dive into the story, the characters, what's actually going on here. You know, with a few days passed since the trailer, there's been a lot of questions and discussions and speculation. Since that presentation, that was meant to be just gameplay focused, was really story focused. I want to hone in on what the Land of Shadow actually is, why we're there, and how, specifically Messmer, the newly revealed child of Marika. So let's just begin. We'll start with a DLC location. How and why are we going to the Land of Shadow? Well, to start with, we had it in no uncertain terms how we're going there. We're going to enter via the cocoon of Miquella, found in the Palace of Mohgwyn. Mohgwyn stole Miquella from his Tree and created that new cocoon, helping Miquella overcome that curse of being a child forever, but for very selfish reasons, and seemingly without proper success. Miquella remains within the cocoon despite the semi-success. His body is larger, but the flesh is all dried out and shriveled and, well, withered. He appears to be dead, though we all imagined there was definitely going to be more to that than there is. A voice speaks to us towards the end of the trailer saying, "Come now, touch the withered arm and travel to the realm of shadow. I will not be far behind, may we meet again." Whoever this figure is, it stands looking at the cocoon at the trailer open, and I assume that's the person speaking to us. Someone is going to guide us to the Land of Shadow, and we're going to actually separate from them upon entry. But what is the Land of Shadow? We learn some extremely specific details about it from Bandai Namco. If you look at their official webpage about the incoming DLC, we see this poem that reveals quite a lot. The Land of Shadow, a place obscured by the Erdtree, where the goddess Marika first set foot. A land purged in an unsung battle, set ablaze by Messmer's flame. It was to this land that Miquella departed, divesting himself of his flesh, his strength, his lineage, of all things golden. And now Miquella awaits the return of his promised lord. This gives us a lot to consider and contextualizes the trailer scenes in vital ways. I'm not used to them laying things out for us like this, but it certainly helps. And we have even more details, really laying things out, from Miyazaki himself in different interviews. During his interview with IGN, he stated that because of something story related, the Land of Shadow is physically disconnected from the lands between. This means it's not actually long ago like speculations originally from the image they gave us were. We're going in at the current timeline during the events of the current game, and it's a place that's not technically in the lands between. It's in a separate state. This means that when we enter the Land of Shadow, those that reside there have been there for a long time, such as Messmer, who looks like he's been there for a while. If it's a physical place though, this whole dream world speculation isn't really an accurate description anymore either. It's just a real place. Weird in the way that it exists as a hidden realm, but yeah, it is a physical place. How does that come to be? Well, the poem gives us some information. Goddess Marika first set foot in the Land of Shadow, a place obscured by the Erdtree. We see that all around this place, the Land of Shadow, we have this tree or two trees, one core being wrapped around and dragged down by the other, maybe, has a sort of cloth-like material draped over it, like a canopy. Everything within is shrouded below. The Erdtree is kind of like a main pole that holds up and almost maintains this obscuration. To me then, that would suggest that the Land of Shadow exists because of the Erdtree, and it wasn't someone super powerful like Marika that created this place. It existed already, she went there, the first relevant figure to do so. But that's actually not the case, as revealed by Miyazaki during an interview, but this time with Famitsu magazine. He said during that interview something insane, really laying things out. In fact, the Land of Shadows is the place where Marika became a god, and the golden tree was born. So it's simply fact that Marika came to this place prior to becoming the ruler of the lands between. She achieved her god status by coming here, and part of an event that happened here, the golden tree was born. If we get into the whole Crucible faction stuff, and the way the Golden Order basically took over and decided what things outside of it were heretical, if we look at the two trees in this Shadow realm, we have perhaps the origins of the Erdtree taking over the Crucible tree in a manner of speaking. One tree is wrapping around the other, one core is being drained almost, like it's bleeding, the dew or the sap coming out. But what's confusing about that is how the tree wrapping around looks more like the Crucible tree in my vision, and the main tree being bled is more like the Erdtree. So what's really happening there? If we look at the Blessed Dew talisman of the current game, we learn that this depicts a drop of the Erdtree sap. Once thought that the sap of the Erdtree would drop from its boughs forever, but the age of plenty swiftly ended, leaving the Erdtree more of an object of faith. Yet in this realm of shadow, it's still bleeding that dew. And you have this building just below where that's dripping. The main tower building that almost looks like it's shaped like a bowl collecting that dew. The wrapping tree's purpose could actually be intentionally bleeding the tree to let someone or something collect that incredibly powerful substance. In any case, this is a physical place, not behind or forward in time, just a place that currently exists that we're going to. It was the origin of the Erdtree and the Golden Order, this location, and it's where Marika became a god. You might think then that it could be the place she first came in contact with the Elden Beast, or the higher being that's behind the beast. Physically, we can look at the map and see the well-known cloud in the middle, the one many speculated would hold maybe another tower as an entry to the DLC, or maybe there's a whole landmass obscured by that cloud that would be exposed with the DLC launch. It is literally under the Erdtree on the map too, which definitely feels intentional rather than coincidental. So, if this is just a place, however it exists, however it was made, it's hidden away and very few people even know of it. Messmer is a very important figure within, the clear antagonist at least shown in the trailer, but you never know how things will truly turn out. But Messmer's been hidden away in this land of shadow for a long period, a secret child of Marika. He's got red hair, a familiar nature to say Melania. I think it's certainly reasonable to assume that he could be a child of Radogan as well. Messmer aside for a second then, Miquella. We're following him in through the entrance to the realm of shadow, but how do we get to that place normally without that? It's not like there's always a cocoon of Miquella to use or whatever time and place you are. The main event of Marika coming to this place definitely didn't use Miquella's body. It suggests then that before Miquella's new entrance, there was a way in, and now there isn't, imprisoning those within. If Miquella's body is this withered mess, and the land of shadow is a real place, how is it that Miquella's alive and functioning within there if it's not, say, a dream world like we thought? Well, you know, it doesn't really seem like he physically is there. What we see as Miquella at the end of that trailer is a glowing aura like an otherworldly person. He might not even physically exist. Maybe he is like a projection from his own body that's not technically dead and has the power to do that. There's a lot of interesting potential there, but yeah, just highlighting that detail. The poem states that Miquella is awaiting the return of his promised lord. I'm thinking that Miquella needs us. Our purpose within this place is certainly uncertain, but if Miquella isn't physically able to do anything, acting only as a guide, he might need someone strong to sort of enact his purposes. He came to this place for a reason, obviously, but he might have found himself there without that ability to actually enact whatever his plans are. So that's where we come in to help kind Miquella, or be manipulated by him, which he certainly does do through his power of love that he influences other people with. That whole faction and his ability to turn enemies to allies is an interesting point. Let's now talk properly about Messmer, and again quote the poem. A land purged in an unsung battle, set ablaze by Messmer's flame. This place was the grounds for some kind of unknown battle at some point, but was ultimately burned by Messmer's flame. This character ended things, or is at very least responsible for the current state that it's in. That's clear when we look at the main image for the DLC. We see Messmer sitting on a throne, residing over this land that's, yeah, quite burned. Amazingly, we get details about this. In the IGN interview, Miyazaki talks about that throne. He confirms that people are going to recognize the throne as one from the main boss room where we battled Morgott right at the entrance of the Erdtree. There are many thrones there, and in one scene we see Morgott referencing the different chairs and who would normally reside there, all the different children key figures. But Messmer was never named or even hinted at that time. So Miyazaki goes on to say that this throne that he's sitting on symbolizes how Messmer is equal to the other demigods and children of Marika, the people who held runes of the Erdtree. He could have his own. Through the DLC, we will learn why he wasn't featured with the other legends of the Erdtree and why he exists in the land of shadow instead. So we couldn't really had it made clearer for us, which is crazy. Messmer is the child of Marika, equal in power and relevance to those like Melania and Miquella. But what is it he actually wants? Messmer asks in the trailer, why mother would you sanction lordship for a tarnished? He won't allow it for one stripped of the grace of gold. In fact, tarnished will all meet death in the embrace of his flame, so he says anyway. Isn't it interesting that his design is so heretical? The snakes and their ties to the whole traitor theme within that culture. He's using a sort of blood flame. He's got the dragon-like eyes. These are all, you know, heretical in terms of the Golden Order. So it stands to reason that he went against the Order, maybe he was prisoned here, and he's had his history stripped from the annals of time. No one even recognizes that he ever existed. That's a reasonable theory, and yet what he's saying and what he's doing works for the Golden Order. He doesn't want those that don't have the grace of gold to be Elden Lord. This suggests that he wants the old order to continue, and he's just enforcing that. It's not actually a big surprise surprise to think that Marika would use Messmer, even if he was heretical. She has a history of using all kinds of punished and outcast types for their purposes. But there's that idea that Messmer works for her purposes happily is interesting to me. It's not the first time we've seen something like that. It's similar to what we saw with Morgoth, who remained loyal to the Golden Order despite all the ways it poorly treated his kind as an omen. So why is Messmer doing this? What is his purpose? That is what we're going to learn, according to Miyazaki himself. At very least, we know that Messmer isn't against Marika. There's a statue of her literally behind him in one of the scenes in the trailer. He hasn't done or said anything that makes us think that he's against Marika. But if he is imprisoned here and he's got this whole heretical theme, there's obviously something going on here. But yeah, that brings me to the end of this story talk and what I've been thinking about from the information that we have so far. It's been nice to actually dive in and properly speculate, look at some old information, what the new links are, but I know there's still going to be a lot to come back through and consider. The community is discussing it at large right now, so a lot of new theories are going to spring up. The best ones always tie to current locations, items, and description that are in-game now. Old, original details that might actually have something relevant in meaning at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see what people turn up. Until next time though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.